Hey guys, welcome to GuitarMessenger.com. My name is Ivan, and I'm here with the one and only Misha Mansoor from Periphery.
Hey,
What's going on, man?
Just chilling. We're on tour, having a good time. You know,
Yeah, man.
The usual, I guess.
Yeah. So since our first interview, at the time of that interview, Periphery 1 had just dropped.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot has happened for you within those 2 years.
Yeah.
And just in broad terms, how has your life changed over those 2 years, both personally and as a professional?
Well, I mean, that album kind of just brought, I guess, or made Periphery, I guess, a real band, you know, and gave us our career so far. It's pretty much responsible for where we're at right now, which is really cool. We've had this, steady kind of growth, slow and steady kind of growth over the last 2 years, which is nice. And, we lost a few members. We lost Tom and Alex, but we gained Mark Holcomb and Nolly. And we also have Jeff over here. He's hiding in the background. He's filling in on bass right now and filming a tour documentary. So he's also getting footage of all this, which is great.
We'll get the other angle in
the other angle,
yeah.
the B-roll. Anyways, so yeah, we've met a lot of cool people, and I think our band is stronger as a result. We were able to collaborate a lot more as a result when it came to writing the second album. It's just been like a steady progress as a business. So.
Yeah.
So I'm glad for that. Really stoked.
How's your day-to-day life changed from the SoundClick days?
Well, I mean, now for one, I can't post music up like quite as freely as I did before. For a while, I really wanted to, but the truth is that the SoundClick was always just kind of whatever I was writing at that point in time. I'd put it out there, and kind of that's what it would be, and maybe I would update it when I'd have a better version of the song. Nowadays, if I do that, then everyone is just going to be like, oh, we've already heard this before. So now whenever I write something, as much as I would love to share it with everyone, we have to keep it to ourselves, which was actually kind of hard at first because I really liked just being able to give everything out. But, I think because of this, everyone will hear a lot more new material on the actual album. Because I could have posted the demos for all these songs, all the songs that weren't on the SoundClick for this second album, and I feel like the response would have been a little bit different.
Right.
They'd all heard demos beforehand, so I'd say it's definitely changed in that way. We're in a bandwagon now, which is kind of cool. I mean, we don't necessarily do this for every tour, but it's cool to be able to do this for certain tours rather than the van, which we were in for a few years, and
I remember that.
And we've done these summer tours in a van, which is very, very difficult. It's very taxing.
You guys had your bunk set up in the back.
Yeah, that's something.
4 people in the trunk.
That's something that Jake built, and Jake and Justin Gosnell built, and it started out as a flat bed, and then we upgraded it to bunks eventually, and it was like making that work, and that was cool, but it was also like just terrifying. It's nice to not be like completely scared for your life every night.
You've paid your dues so far. Now you got this. So that's awesome.
Yeah, no, we definitely appreciate this because we can compare it to how different it was from the van. So steady growth hopefully continues.
Yeah, man, for sure. So Periphery 2, this time it's personal.
This time it's personal.
Yeah, you guys broke the Billboard Top 50 for that. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So how did that measure up against your expectations? Were you surprised? Were you hoping for more? Did you expect less? Like, what was your thinking going into this?
A lot of you guys watching may not be very aware of what record sales mean anymore. And, to be fair, it changes every year, because people don't really buy records. And actually, these numbers may not sound like a lot. I remember when our first record came out, we did 4,500 first week. And a lot of people were giving us props, and a lot of people were very impressed that we did that for our debut. I didn't understand why, because it just was it was an arbitrary number to me, and I didn't have the context. How did our peers do? But that was a very good number for our debut album, for just being our first one, because I think everyone on our team was expecting more like 1,000 or 2,000 sales in the first week. And as I explained online, and you guys may not realize this, but first week sales are a very important thing for a band. They're a very important figure because it's how the industry kind of places you and judges where you stand, and things like guarantees, how much you get paid every night, and what kind of tours you get offered, and where you place on the tour, like where you'll actually be playing, are determined. And and in a lot of cases negotiated with the first week sales, where you place on the billboard, endorsements, all sorts of things that relate to everyday band life. And, at the end of the day, it actually determines how much money you're going to make, because your guarantees, if you do more first week, you're going to get higher guarantees.
Right.
Because it's just basically, I guess, maybe an antiquated way of judging a band, but really, like, it's, maybe it's a thing from the past, but it's the only way that they really look at, or one of the few ways that they really look at it.
Yeah.
So, that does really affect where you're going to stand on your album cycle. And I think us having like good first week sales on our first album did a lot of good for us. I mean, I know it did. It landed us all sorts of endorsements. It helped us with our guarantees and get good tours.
Yep.
And I was expecting this time around to get maybe like 8,000. I was like, if we do 8,000, I'll be so stoked,
That's
that's like about double of what we did last time, and I've been really happy. And our management was like, yeah, we think like 8 to 10 would be cool. And I was like, 10, that's not going to happen. So when I heard we did almost 12,000, like, I actually texted our manager and I was like, check that number, because that can't be right. And he triple checked for me, and it was. So I was like, wow, that's, it really took us aback, and we really want to thank everybody for supporting, because obviously we that number is just a reflection of what you guys did and how you supported us. So it really means a lot. Thank you very much.
You recently announced you're going to be collaborating with Nolly on a production company.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that idea and like what each one of you brings to the table?
Yeah, sure. Well, as you guys may or may not know, Nolly's been a huge part of this band, even though it's never been official. And he's been one of my best friends, and we've always kind of worked on production and engineering together. But he's always had kind of this strong side in the engineering side of things, because he's so meticulous with everything. And he really just understands, he learns and wants to understand why everything is the way that it is. Sure. I was more the kind of the guy who just jumped in and just did everything by ear and figured things out. Yeah. So my learning process was probably a lot longer, or it definitely was a lot longer than his, because that's just sort of my style, is just jump in and kind of figure it out from there. And he kind of takes a step back and wants to understand why and how things are the way they are. And I feel like, as a producer, I can bring a lot to the table, and I'm pretty happy with my mixes for the most part, but I've never sort of felt blown away, or I've always felt like there's some another level that could be reached, and Nolly is the person that can help me do that. And Nolly is very strong with the engineering side, but he feels like his weakness is the producing side of things. So it just made a lot of sense. It was like,
so you two complement each other.
We complement each other very well, and what we could do is take a band, that has even nothing at all, and just kind of write the album with them if need be, but at least do all the pre-production and then properly record them after the fact, and just from inception to complete finished product, we could completely handle a band.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the idea behind this production team. And we haven't done a project yet, but we need some time, And now that he's in the band, at least we'll be able to schedule a little bit better. But hopefully we'll be able, we worked on the album, right? He was engineering and co-producing on the album, so that should give you a sense of this kind of stuff that we can do,
right?
And the kind of, if you will, I did the first album myself, so the difference in sound and everything between the first and the second is going to be kind of the difference in sound between my productions and the production team, and that would be kind of a good way to gauge, what we'd be able to do.
Yeah, so I know Taylor Larson is the official mixer on the album.
Yeah.
But you and Nolly also contributed. So what were your contributions like as far as the mix and engineering?
Well, we went to Taylor really for the drums and the vocals, because those are things we wanted to do, live drums, and that's the aspect that Nolly and I were kind of not as familiar with, right? We can get, and we were also after a very specific guitar and bass tone that Taylor really was out of his comfort zone with. So the idea was we would handle the guitars and the bass. Spencer's become quite the producer, and he actually works with Taylor and at Taylor's studio producing bands, their vocals. So he's kind of a Pro Tools wizard and all that, and is just creatively has all these great ideas. So we knew that between Spencer and Taylor doing the vocals, like
Yeah.
they would just get it done. So we didn't even concern ourselves with that. And this division of labor kind of made it very easy to focus on just these aspects and getting those just right. And Taylor absolutely like nailed the drum sound. Like we're so happy with that. And you know, we mic'd up cabs. You know, there were mics on
Right.
everything this time.
Yep.
The first album was like all in the box. The only mics the
One mic,
vocals.
yeah.
This one, there's mics on everything. So, so that was kind of out of our comfort zone, and we worked with that. And you know, we were all just kind of. I guess at times it might have felt like there were too many cooks in the kitchen, but ultimately, like we put a lot of work into it, and we got the mix exactly the way that we wanted it to get
Sure,
it.
yeah.
So you know, that's kind of, you know, like if we do this production team, because we don't have a studio yet, we probably would have whoever we're recording record at Taylor Larson's, because he gets incredible drum sounds, you know.
Yeah.
So that would be like a part of it, just outsourcing the drums to there, and probably have Spencer do vocals too, because he does fantastic work.
As far as the guitar tones now, you've said many times you used your X-Fix as usual, but
X-Fix 2 this time.
X-Fix 2. But you were running it through the EVH 5150-3 as a power amp.
Yeah,
into a
I
cab.
have one of those heads. And I love those heads to death.
It's a gnarly head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it, and
Super
you know,
heavy.
we needed a power amp. That's the only sort of tube power amp I have, so we tried it and it sounded fantastic. And we ran that out to a Mesa oversized cab, put a bunch of mics on it. Like, don't remember exactly what, but I know it was just like 57, Beta 57. I think a prototype, and maybe there was like,
I thought I maybe saw a 421 there somewhere.
I don't know if we used the 421. I forget. We might have used the 421 actually. I forget. But yeah, it's been a while. We wanted to create something unrepeatable because technically, if you, especially with all the tone matching now, you could kind of just get that first album tone. Technically, you could dial it in, and EQ it, and process it the same way. You'd have exactly the same thing. Here, there's so many variables that I don't think even we could recreate it. You know, like it's the room, the placement of the mics, placement of the cab in the room. You know, what was in the room. You know, so many factors. Like I'd say one of the most difficult things was actually creating a consistent guitar tone throughout the recording. And so many times we kind of lost it and had to like find it again. And it came back a little bit different. I don't think you would notice in the context of the album too much, but like it was like a real headache on our part because we wanted this unrepeatable aspect, but it was kind of unrepeatable to ourselves, even in the studio, even with most of the variables being static.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know necessarily that we will go that route in the future, because it's not necessarily that it even sounded better. It was just something unique.
Sure.
But it was a learning experience. We all learned a lot.
That's interesting. I was wondering about, like, you know, how you came to think of doing that, going that way this time. Do you see yourself incorporating more tube things, tube amps in your live rig or in other recordings?
In the live rig, no. Recordings, maybe. You know, like for the studio, I feel you should have all the options that you want. And like when we record, we'll just do DIs and sort of reamp and see what sounds best.
Yeah.
I'm not, you know, the X-Fix is a tool. It's a means to an end. But it's not like something that I would use just because I have to use it or whatever. I don't, you know. And even the guys at Fractal understand that. For touring, it's just the most practical thing ever. It sounds exactly the way I want our live sound to, you know, our live guitar tone to be. And the fact that you can just put it in a carry-on and just take it overseas, like, and that's your rig. That's your whole rig right there. That is awesome. Kind of unbeatable. For those of you who don't tour, you normally have to like rent backline, which costs money and it's a pain. So you have to rent all the gear that you use. So the very fact that you save money and it's all in your base, like right there, that goes a long way. And until I have someone sort of carrying and setting up my gear, I probably would never consider using a tube rig or a more complex rig again. Right now, we have like very little gear. I think you made a comment like we have like nothing on stage, you know?
Yeah, there's like
we have
drums.
We have drums. We have in-ears, and our MacBook does all of our switching for us, so we can just play and stand anywhere we want. We have wireless Line 6 packs as well, so we're not committed to any area of the stage, and there's nothing on the stage, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. As a guitar player, like over the years, you know, listening to the songs, there's always like you come up with something new, whether it's like a tapping technique or some kind of hammer-on thing that you put into your riffs. or new tuning. So is there anything right now that you're working on as a guitar player, or like something you've discovered recently that you're messing with?
Well, we're always messing with tunings, which is like something I always regret doing in the long run because it just means you have to bring even more
That
guitars.
many more guitars, yeah, with backups.
There's more tunings on this new album too, so like it could be a headache. But the only thing that I really experimented with was just like doing a bit of slap guitar, and that's in Make Till Destroy, and that was kind of just on a whim because we were messing around with just playing the slap bass under that part, and we're like, that sounds cool. And I was like, oh, what if we did that on the guitar? And that sounded really cool too, you know? But I don't know how much I would integrate that because I'm not particularly good at it, you know? My approach to writing is really just everything is a means to an end once again. You know, it's all just about like getting that idea out there. So I would never sort of seek techniques just to show the techniques off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it would have to serve the purpose of the song. Anytime I'm tapping or doing whatever, it's because that tapping line sounded cool or whatever, but it wasn't because I was like, oh man, I really need a tapping lick or a sweeping lick or whatever. Maybe hybrid picking would be cool, but I feel like that is just way over my head right now. But if there is one thing I've worked on a lot, it's probably my vibrato. Definitely worked on getting my vibrato more 80s. More 80s vibrato.
More wide and
more
wider,
wide, even, you know,
yeah.
1, 2, 3 out kind of thing, you know. And my alt picking, because I've always been really weak with alt picking. So
I remember you mentioned that, yeah, the last time we did the feature.
Yeah, and it's something that I've been wanting to work on. I got some killer tips from John Petrucci, so that went a long way.
Yeah, I mean, can't get better advice than that.
Right, for alt picking, right?
Yeah.
This is a good teacher, too. So
awesome.
So, yeah, that's probably what I've been working on.
Cool. Well, speaking of John Petrucci and Dream Theater, you guys were planning to do work on your next album, the concept album. At the time, you got the offer for the Dream Theater tour, which you have to take.
You have to take. Like,
Yeah.
this, you know.
Yeah, so, that being said, the work on that album got pushed back. So what's the status on that, and like how far did you guys get into it?
You know, I think that it got pushed back even further now because as we've sort of been discussing what we could do with it, the scope of the project has gotten a lot bigger as we've been fleshing it out. And the whole motivation behind this project, at least now, is the fact that we're going to kind of write backwards to what we're used to. So kind of be out of our comfort zone and be on our toes. Because normally what we do is we just write a song. Like one of us will write a song, we'll write a song together. The vocals come later and lyrics come later, you know? But this time around it'll be the story, and at least the story will come first. And that's what we'll be sort of almost scoring to. Because I want the music to be very appropriate to what's going on and thematic, and that's going to kind of force us to flip it around and kind of look at it based off the story and the lyrics as the first thing that we approach rather than the last thing. And I just think it could be a lot of fun. And because the story has kind of gotten fleshed out and is a little bit more in depth, and we realized we could get more in depth with it, you know, the scope of the project's a lot bigger, and I don't know when it's going to be done. But I will say it's the next thing that we're working on, and the next album we put out will definitely be
awesome.
The concept record.
Cool. One of my favorite early Periphery tracks is Inertia, and I know that was going to be part of a bigger picture of songs.
Yeah.
Is that going to be a part of this album?
That's definitely planned for it. You know, we're once again like we gotta make everything fit, and that does fit in with the theme lyrically. But see, I want to say yes, but then I don't want it to not work out and be like, you said yes. But I'd say there's a good chance that will be on there. Yeah.
Awesome. What are the plans for the remainder of the year? You got Summer Slaughter right now.
You got Summer
What's
Slaughter.
going on after that?
Got Summer Slaughter. Believe it or not, like I feel like we're like halfway through this tour, but we got like a month left on it. So it's a long one. And then after that, we get like a month off at home. We're heading out on the road. We're going to Europe and UK Europe tour with Between the Buried and Me and the Safety Fire.
Awesome.
So that's gonna be good times because we've become good friends with the Between the Buried and Me guys on this tour, and we've toured with Safety Fire a bunch of times. Good buddies. So that's just gonna be a great time, one way or another. And then after that, We don't really have anything planned as of yet. There's some stuff that's being discussed, other than this cruise, this Mayhem cruise. I don't know if you know about that.
So that's taken off, I believe, from Miami, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we might catch you then, unless you're going to be on the cruise.
I mean, then you'll probably catch me if I'm on the cruise. Then.
Yeah, I'll definitely catch you if you're on the cruise, right? You'll probably be too drunk to film, but it's going to be one of those.
Everything's going to be out of focus, slightly
Everything's
out of focus.
going to be, well, it should be an accurate representation of what that cruise looks like to pretty much everybody else.
Everything is B-roll.
Exactly. But that's got Gojira. I don't know what actually if Lamb of God is playing that anymore because of that whole horrible, unfortunate situation.
Yeah.
But they were slated to be on there. A bunch of other bands. I think Born of Osiris is gonna be there, which always means it's gonna be a party. So, but yeah, like that's the only thing that we've got is this kind of vacation on a boat that I guess could be called work by some stretch of the imagination, but really won't be.
Playing a couple of shows and doing some partying.
Like on a boat.
On a boat.
You know, like on a cruise. Yeah, we're gonna be working hard.
Last time I asked you for some advice for young upcoming bands, and you were talking. The main point you made was about patience, about taking the time to do things right. Mm-hmm. So sometimes a couple of years have passed. Is there another piece of advice that over these years you come to realize that you wish you could have told a young upcoming band?
I mean, like that's definitely one aspect of it. The patience thing is still as true as ever, if not more true. I don't know if I went into this last time, but it's a business, and treat it like it's a business. You really should. I mean, we're a small business. That's what we are by definition, and we take our numbers very seriously, and we have sales goals that we're trying to hit, and gross earnings that we're trying to hit, and we pay our taxes. We have an accountant and a business manager. Like, these are very important things. It's important to manage your money very well because I see a lot of bands kind of don't really do that, and money has this way of just slipping through your fingers when you commit it to memory, and with the amount of information that comes in with a band, especially as you get bigger and bigger, it's a lot to manage. So either manage it very carefully yourself or have a business manager, because oftentimes, even though you're paying a business manager, a percentage, if you have mismanaged money, you actually lose more by having it mismanaged than you would pay a business manager to have it well managed and have your stuff under control and be able to look and see numbers on financially how you're doing. Like, this is a small business first and foremost, and if you don't treat it with that kind of respect, like, you won't be capitalizing on it at all, and it could be the thing that destroys you, Right. So that would be probably the next step. Just be very responsible with your money, because there's very little of it going around in this industry, especially in this scene. So the little that you get needs to go a long way, and if you manage it carefully, it can go a lot longer, or it can last a lot longer and do a lot more for you.
For sure. In your interview with Marco Kubo a little while back, you guys were talking about the idea of getting to a point where you can completely focus just on this and not be dependent on other jobs.
Yeah.
Be complete. Have you guys gotten to that point by this point?
Not yet. No, believe it or not, we haven't yet. We're still at it. And some people might look and be like, oh, well, you're on this bandwagon right now, and it's expensive. It's something that you pay for. Why not do it in the van? And if we did it in the van, we'd make a lot more money. But like, the thing that you do learn, one of the things that kind of a lot of people might take for granted, is that the less responsibilities that you have to take. Because when you're starting off, in a band, you're doing everything, from merch to driving to teching to every aspect. The more crew you can take out, and the less you have to be responsible for, the better shows you can put on. And that's just a fact. That is like an undeniable fact that every band will tell you is the truth. And once you sort of perform at a certain level, you can't sort of take it back. You can't like all of a sudden be tired all the time and like of course, if one of our guys, like Matt likes to drive a lot, if he's like driving all night, he's not going to play as well the next day as he did on a night with good sleep.
Yeah,
and like something like this, although it may look like it's an expensive, or it's a luxury, it really isn't in some ways, because it enables us to deliver a certain standard of show that we really wouldn't be able to, especially like coming like halfway through a tour if you're in a band or something like that. And as you make more money, you just have to spend more money. You have to make your show bigger and better. So it becomes hard to net that money at the end of the tour. There's a lot to be paid out. I mean, we're slowly getting to the point where the money's becoming a bit more substantial, but we still have to work. Absolutely.
Yeah. You've managed to accumulate a nice collection of high-end guitars over the last couple of years. As you said yourself, it's more than the sum of its parts that makes a great guitar.
Right.
So what is it about more than that sum? What is more than that sum in those guitars that you look for?
I mean, honestly, it just comes down to the most simple thing. I would just say a connection. Sometimes, and those of you who play the guitar, or those of you who play guitar and have tried a bunch of guitars know exactly what I'm talking about. Doesn't matter about specs, doesn't matter about anything. Sometimes you just pick up a guitar and it puts a smile on your face. And sometimes you just pick up a guitar and you can't put it down. And sometimes you pick up a guitar and just riffs happen, ideas happen, right? Like, I call it mojo, you could call it whatever you want, right? Or more than the sum of its parts, whatever, right? But that's what it is. And the builders that I like, the guitars that I love are from builders that seem to be able to consistently put out guitars. Because every manufacturer, I'm sure, can make like at least one of those guitars, but can you do it consistently? Can you do it every
Sure,
time?
yeah.
And even in the custom market, sometimes you get flukes, sometimes you get awesome guitars, sometimes you get not so great guitars, and they could have amazing woods and pickups and construction and all that, but it's not quite there. But like I feel like if you're honest with yourself, you just know. You're just like, man, which guitar are you reaching for? Which one are you kind of like, whatever, next time, So that is it's kind of just a very just basic kind of understanding, like this is awesome. And that's what I look for. I never get excited about guitars that I see online or anything like that. Like I really have to play them, and the ones that impress me, those are the ones that that stick, because I never buy into any hype. Like I was never crazy about Sir guitars, right? Like I was like, they're expensive and they look beautiful and it's whatever. But I played Travis Learier's 7-string they got from Scale to Summit, right?
Oh yeah,
he brought
I've seen pictures of that thing. That thing is beautiful.
It looks beautiful, and I would have thought nothing of it. I mean, he sent me a picture of it, like that's a gorgeous guitar, and I played it, and just immediately it was like, yes, this is awesome, And like that to me is more important than anything. Like it's spec'd out pretty differently from what I would get myself, but now it's like, oh man, I should try that because I really like that guitar. Maybe that is part of what makes it. You get a good builder in those specs, maybe that is going to create that emotion again. But that is definitely what I look for with a guitar, and the brands that can consistently put that out, those are the brands that I respect.
Right on. So, wrapping it up here, you keep in touch with your fans. Many of the questions that they have, you spend a lot of time on trying to get them their answers. Is there anything that you would like to share with them that maybe doesn't come across in a lot of those questions or at shows or anything like that?
I'm a sarcastic dude. Yeah, you probably should never take anything I say too seriously. I see a lot of people getting offended at things I say, and I'm just like, okay, I can see that because, it's text and you can't really convey emotion, but I'm pretty sarcastic. And I guess when I'm typing it, I hear it in my head, and I'm like, that's hilarious. But, like, someone else, it doesn't come off that way. But, yeah, probably you shouldn't take anything I say too seriously for that reason.
Right on.
That's it. But I appreciate people who stay in touch. I like staying in touch with the fans. It's something I've done since day one. So, at least for me, it doesn't feel like a chore or anything like that. It's just part of what I do.
No, for sure. It's part of what makes the whole experience a lot more personal for them.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
It's a new way of doing things. I think a lot of older school bands kind of don't quite get that, and for them it might be a chore because it's like, hey, I was doing things this way and it was totally fine, and then all of a sudden it's not enough.
Yeah.
What's the deal? And that's totally fair. It's just the world kind of changing under their feet. But for me, like that's kind of how we came about. So it's something I definitely enjoy.
Right on, man. Well, best of luck with all your plans for the year, and hopefully I'll see you on that cruise.
Yeah, see you on the cruise.
Thanks a lot, man.
No
bro. Cool.
All right, good.
Awesome.
We didn't get interrupted too much at the end.
No, it's good.
Sorry about that.
Well, no problem.
Ivan, you have good questions. Why can't every interview have good questions?
I appreciate you saying that, man.